Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to the Finance 360-degree sessions where we cover all the relevant and important finance current affairs and the RBI notifications which are important from your exam point of view. Give me a thumbs up if I'm clearly audible and visible. So in today's session, we are going to discuss a very important framework that has been updated by the Reserve Bank of India. Okay. So the Reserve Bank of India has recently released the updated framework for the regulatory sandbox. So what is this updated framework? What is this regulatory sandbox? All of this we are going to discuss in today's session. And let me tell you that the objective questions can come from this news article in the phase 1 of the RBI grade B as well as in the phase 2 of the RBI grade B, as well as it is important. The regulatory sandbox is also important from the NABARD grade A and SEBI grade A perspective. Okay. Now this framework can also come in the descriptive part of the examination or you can use the details of the regulatory sandbox in the descriptive answer writing, that is regarding the financial innovations that are happening in our country or the financial development, the financial inclusion. In all of these, the regulatory sandbox, the details that you are going to understand today can be used. Okay, so let's get started with today's session, and I hope I'm clearly audible and visible. All okay? Nice. Good morning everyone. So I'm not feeling very good today, so I'm taking the session in the small studio. So good morning everyone. Let's start with this session, but before that, do subscribe to the YouTube channel and join our Telegram channel. Here you will get the PDF of the session. So you will get the PDF of the session in the Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel is provided in the description box below. Okay. So first of all, enabling framework for regulatory sandbox. So this is the framework for the regulatory sandbox. Okay. So the Reserve Bank of India has placed on its website the updated framework of the regulatory sandbox. Recently, the RBI has placed on its website the updated framework for the regulatory sandbox. Okay. Now, what is the regulatory sandbox? First of all, you have to understand this. So, regulatory sandbox, it is providing, like, there is a playground for the children where the children can innovate, they can play as they want. There is no harm that is coming to the children. Okay. So this is the sandbox that is providing a safe place for the innovation to happen by the children, for the children to play in a safe environment. This is the playground, this is the sandbox that is provided to them, and there is a regulator. There is a regulator that is keeping an eye on the innovation and the games that the children are playing. In the same context, there is the regulatory sandbox. Regulatory sandbox, it is a place, or it is a sandbox that is provided by the Reserve Bank of India in our country, that is providing a safe place for the innovators, for the fintech companies to innovate. Okay, so regulatory sandbox, it usually refers to live testing of new products. So live testing can happen of the new products, the new services in a controlled test regulatory environment, in a safe environment, for which the regulators sometimes can or cannot permit certain regulatory relaxations for the limited purpose of the testing. So simply the idea is that this is the regulatory sandbox where the innovators, the fintech companies, if they join this sandbox or if they are allowed in this regulatory sandbox, they can build almost anything that they want that is regarding a particular theme. Okay, the RBI or the regulator may relax some but not all the rules in this sandbox. So some of the relaxations can maybe or may not be provided for the testing purposes. This is a safe environment with clear boundaries and safeguards that are provided to the innovators, to the fintech companies. The consequences of the failure is also contained. Okay, so this is the regulatory sandbox that is provided in our country to the fintech companies, to the financial technology companies, to the innovators, so that they can do the innovations but in a controlled, in a safe environment that is not leading to problems for the whole of the country. Okay, so in a controlled environment they are doing the innovations. Background. So what is the background of this regulatory sandbox? So RBI set up an inter-regulatory working group. So a working group was established in which there were members from different regulatory bodies. So this was the inter-regulatory working group that was established in July 2016 to look into and report the detailed aspects of the fintech and its implications. Okay, the financial technology that is being developed in our country and the implications that these financial technologies or the fintech companies will have in the country. Okay, so there was the report that was taken from the working group. The report was regarding the review of the regulatory framework that is required for the financial technology, that is required for the fintech, and respond to the dynamics of the rapidly evolving fintech scenario. So this working group was established so that this working group can provide a report. This working group can provide a report on the detailed aspects of the fintech, what should be the regulatory framework for the fintech, as well as how the regulatory system should respond to the rapidly evolving fintech scenario. So all of this was like the task of the working group to provide the recommendations. Okay, and the working group provided its report on in 2018 for the public comments. So one of the key recommendations of the working group was to introduce an appropriate framework for a regulatory sandbox, that the financial technology is very important for the country and it will keep on evolving. If the regulators want to be a part of the system where the financial technology is being developed, then there should be a regulatory sandbox that should be created by the regulator, so that the regulator is aware about that what are the innovators thinking about and what they want to develop, so that the regulators can also be a part of this kind of innovations that are happening in the fintech sector. So that's why there was the regulatory sandbox that was needed, and the working group recommended that there should be a framework, appropriate framework for the regulatory sandbox, so that within a well-defined space and duration, the financial sector regulator framework for a regulatory sandbox should be there within a well-defined space and duration, where the financial sector regulator will provide the requisite regulatory guidance. So the regulator will be able to provide the regulatory guidance to the innovators, to the fintech companies, that okay, this is the technology that is allowed in our country, this is the technology that is not allowed in our country, so even if you innovate, you will not be benefited. So this is the regulatory guidance that can be provided by the regulator, so as to increase efficiency and giving a right path to the innovators or the fintech companies, manage the risk. So this was the regulatory sandbox that can manage the risk, create new opportunities for the consumers, create new products under this regulatory sandbox and the new services. So the enabling framework for regulatory sandbox, this was actually placed on RBI website on August 2019 after wide-ranging consultations with the stakeholders. So you can understand that the working group recommended for a framework for the regulatory sandbox in 2018, and in 2019 actually there was a framework that was released by the Reserve Bank of India for the regulatory sandbox. So the framework was released in 2019. Why we are talking about the framework right now? Because on February 28, 2024, the RBI has released the updated there is the update that has happened in the enabling framework for the regulatory sandbox. So the framework has been revised based on the experience that the RBI has gained over the last 4.5 years in running 4 cohorts. So 4 cohorts has already been run by the Reserve Bank of India. Cohorts means what? They are the end-to-end sandbox process from the application phase to the exit phase, the test application phase, testing phase to the exit phase. So the 4 complete cohorts has been run by the Reserve Bank of India, and after gaining experience in the regulatory sandbox, the RBI has thought of revising the regulatory sandbox, as well as the RBI has also got the feedback from the fintechs, from the banking partners, from the other stakeholders, and on that basis the RBI has thought of improving the framework for the regulatory sandbox. So the updated framework also requires the sandbox entities to ensure compliance with the provisions. So the updated framework, the major change that has happened is that there is in the updated framework, in the sandbox, there is the requirement that there should be the compliance with the provisions of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023, as well as the timeline. The timeline for the regulatory sandbox has been increased from 7 months to 9 months. So the basic idea is that before 7 months were provided for the end-to-end sandbox process, but now 9 months are being provided for the end-to-end sandbox process. We will see that what is this end-to-end sandbox process, where it starts, where it ends, everything we are going to discuss. But before 7 months were provided, now 9 months are being provided, as well as you have to follow the provisions of Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 in the sandbox. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the comprehensive framework that has been provided by the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so let's discuss that. So regulatory sandbox, I hope you have understood. Under the regulatory sandbox, it allows the regulator, the innovators, the financial service providers such as the banks and the NBFCs and the customers to come together. Okay, so there are a few customers that are chosen. The customers have given the consent to be a part of this innovation, to be a part of this testing. Okay, so they come together so that there is the development that can happen in the financial product and the financial services space. And to conduct the field test, so the regulator, innovator, financial service providers, customers, they have come together to conduct the field test to collect evidence on the benefits and risk of new financial innovations. Okay, so evidence has to be collected that okay, this technology, sorry, not technology, but this product that we are trying to develop is actually beneficial for the whole of the country, is the risks are very less for this product. So these kind of evidence has to be collected that actually this product is beneficial or not, or how much the risks are there for this product or not. Okay, while carefully monitoring and containing their risk in the regulatory sandbox. That's why this is the regulatory sandbox where the risk can be contained. Okay, it can provide, the regulatory sandbox provides a structured avenue for the regulator to engage with the ecosystem, to engage with the innovators, and to develop innovation enabling or innovation responsive regulations. Because if the regulator is aware about that this kind of product is being developed and this is a good product that has some risk but that has more benefits, so you can understand that the regulator will also develop such kind of regulations that can reduce the risk further in the economy if this product releases in the economy. So the regulator has the idea regarding the innovations that are happening in the country and can work on the innovation enabling or innovation responsive regulations that facilitate the delivery of relevant low cost financial products. Now the objective of regulatory sandbox is very easy. It is to foster responsible innovations in the financial services, promote the efficiency of the financial products, financial services, and bring benefit to the consumers. Okay, so you can understand that the banking infrastructure that is limited in our country, the physical banking units that are limited in our country. So there is the mobile applications that have been developed for the banks that is able, like I'm sitting in Chandigarh and the main branch is in some other state. So you can understand that still sitting like in Chandigarh while my main branch is in some other state, I'm still able to open FD with the main branch, or I'm still able to open the recurring deposits, I'm still able to take loan, or I can start the loan process through the PNB1 mobile application or through the mobile application. So you can understand that this is the facility that has been provided by the innovations that keep on happening and happening and happening. So it promotes the efficiency, it saves my time as well as the time of the branch. Also, it brings benefit to the customers hugely. So the innovations that you can see around you, the wallets that are there, okay, the payments that you can make easily. So these are the innovations that we further want to promote. Next is the regulatory sandbox. At its core is a formal regulatory program where the regulator is able to connect with the innovators. Okay, so the regulator is able to connect with the innovators. So it is a formal regulatory program for the market participants to test their new products, to test their new services that they want to bring out in the market, or test their business models with the customers, with the limited customers that have given their consent in a live environment subject to certain safeguards or oversight. So this is the formal regulatory program that is promoting the innovations by the innovators, and that is providing a safe ground for the innovators, and that is providing the innovators direct access to the regulator also. The proposed financial service to be launched under the regulatory sandbox should include new. Now the basic idea is, the objective of the regulatory sandbox is to bring out the innovations. So for sure, there should be some new or emerging technology or use of the existing technology in an innovative way and should address a problem or and bring benefits to the consumer. So this is the objective, to bring the innovations out. Okay, what are the benefits? Learning by doing. Simple. Regulators also obtain first hand empirical evidence on the benefits and the risk of the emerging technologies. No innovator can hide the risk when it is in regulatory sandbox, because the RBI is directly getting the data. Okay, users of the regulatory sandbox can test the product's viability without the need for larger and more expensive rollout. Before, what used to happen, that the fintech company or the innovator had to release the product in the whole of the country, so that used to take a lot of money, or in a whole of the state we can say, to test the product. But now there are the limited customers that have given the consent. Okay, now the what we can say, that the test can happen on these limited customers rather than rolling out for the whole of the state or for whole of the district or something. So users can test the product's viability, that it is actually beneficial or not, it is actually going to earn profits or not, without the need of the larger and more expensive rollout, if the product appears to have the potential to be successful. And if any concerns arise during the sandbox period, appropriate modifications can be made before the product is launched in the broader market. Okay, fintechs provide solutions that can further the financial inclusion in the country, and areas that can potentially further get benefited from the innovations are the microfinance, the innovative small savings, remittances, mobile banking, and such. Providing a structured, so benefit of regulatory sandbox is that it is providing a structured and institutionalized environment for evidence-based regulatory decision making. So the regulators are aware about that, okay, this is the product and these should be the regulations that should come further. Regulatory sandbox could lead to better outcomes for the consumers through an increased range of financial products and financial services. Now the design aspects of the regulatory sandbox, so you can understand that cohort, it is the end-to-end sandbox process that happens where a limited number of entities are allowed in the sandbox. So thematic cohorts means that the themes are provided to the sandbox, themes are provided to the cohorts. So there are the 4 themes, the 5 themes that we are aware about. So the first cohort had the theme retail payments, the second cohort had the theme cross-border payments, the third cohort had the theme MSME lending, the fourth cohort had the theme prevention and mitigation of financial frauds, and the fifth cohort has the theme neutral. So the cohorts, that means the sandbox is open for the applicants with a particular theme. Okay, so there are thematic cohorts that are focusing on financial inclusion, retail payments, cross-border payments, MSME lending, and such. The cohort may also be theme neutral. So the fifth cohort is the theme neutral. That means the development or the innovation can happen in any of the financial product or financial services in any of the topic. The cohorts may run from varying time periods but should ordinarily be completed within 9 months. So before, the time period was 7 months, which has been increased to 9 months. Okay. Next is on-tap application, that even if the cohort has finished within 9 months, there is the closing of the cohort that has happened. Still, on-tap application is provided in order to ensure continuous innovation that can happen in the retail payments, that can happen in the cross-border payments. Even if the theme has been closed, the regulatory sandbox may also accept on-tap applications for otherwise closed themes. The details of the themes open for on-tap application will be communicated by the Reserve Bank of India. But even after the theme is closed, there can be on-tap application that can happen, that a particular applicant or innovator is trying to bring a very good product, so the RBI can give permission for such kind of innovator to work on a particular cohort in the particular regulatory sandbox process, even after the regulatory process has or the sandbox has closed. Okay. So now, which are the products or services or technology under the regulatory sandbox? So retail payments, money transfer services, these are the services that are the focus areas for the regulatory sandbox or under the regulatory sandbox. Which are the innovative technology? So mobile technology applications, data analytics applications under the blockchain technologies. So the blockchain technology is also the focus area under the regulatory sandbox. So these are the innovative products or services, these are the innovative technology that is the focus area under the regulatory sandbox. Next, exclusion from the sandbox testing. So this is important because direct question can come from this, that which of the products or technologies are being excluded from the sandbox testing. So the entities may not be suitable for the regulatory sandbox if the proposed financial service is similar to those. So first of all, these are the negative list, or these are the list of, this is the list of the product, services of technology that is not accepted for testing purposes, and the innovators that are proposing the financial services that is already offered in India. So they will also not allow, they will not be allowed in the regulatory sandbox. So a technology or a product or a service that is already present in India, let's say Google Pay is present in India, and now some other entity, let's say Amazon Pay, is saying that I want to get into the regulatory sandbox to prepare the same kind of app. So that is not allowed under the regulatory sandbox. This is not an innovation. Okay. The entities may not be suitable for the regulatory sandbox if the proposed financial service or product that they are trying to prepare is already offered in India, unless the applicants can show that they are trying to improve the technology or they are working on a different technology that is going to make the transactions more effective and more efficient. Okay, so this is the idea. Next is that this is the list of the product, services or technology that may not be accepted for testing under the regulatory sandbox. So credit registry, credit information, cryptocurrency, crypto asset services. So remember that the applications under the blockchain technology. So the testing can happen on the blockchain technology, but the testing cannot happen directly on the cryptocurrency or the crypto assets. Trading, investing or settling in crypto assets, this kind of testing cannot happen. Initial coin offerings, chain marketing services or any other product or service that has been banned by the RBI or the Government of India. Now regulatory requirement or relaxations for applicant. So these kind of relaxations can be provided by the Reserve Bank of India, that is liquidity requirements on the CRR, SLR and such, board composition, management experience, financial soundness, track record, statutory restrictions. These kind of relaxations can be provided by the Reserve Bank of India only during the regulatory sandbox, and this kind of permission will be, or this kind of relaxation will be only on the case to case basis. Case to case basis means that for a particular applicant, if he or she is asking for a particular relaxation, so case to case basis the relaxation will be provided. So next is the requirements that shall mandatorily be complied. So these are the relaxations that can be given. So some of the requirements that should mandatorily be compliant with the applicants are the customer privacy. There should be no relaxation on the customer privacy and data protection. Yes, the consent can be taken from the customer, but the customer must be aware about that what he or she is getting into. So the customer privacy and data protection should be complied with. Secure storage of and access to payment data of stakeholders. So storage of the data should be secure. Local data storage should also happen. Security of transactions, the know your customer, the anti-money laundering, the countering of finance, the terrorist financing. So these kind of requirements cannot be reduced. The relaxation cannot happen on these kind of requirements. Statutory requirements. So the statutory restrictions, if there are any restrictions that have been imposed on a particular innovator, let's say on the Paytm payments, on the Paytm payments bank, there is the restriction that has been imposed. So RBI might reduce the restrictions or relax the restrictions for the regulatory sandbox purpose only for the regulatory sandbox. But the statutory requirements, it cannot be reduced or relaxed. So the restrictions can be relaxed but not the requirements. Okay, so the requirements that are there, that has to be followed. Okay, so this is the idea. Now next is fit and proper criteria for selection of participants in regulatory sandbox. So first of all, the innovator or the participants that want to join the regulatory sandbox, they should be a company that is incorporated and registered in India, or banks that are licensed to operate in India, or the limited liability partnership or partnership firms registered in India. Okay. Further, the financial institutions constituted under a statute in India would also be eligible. So the entity that wants to join the regulatory sandbox shall have a minimum net worth of rupees 10 lakh as per its latest audited balance sheet. The entity whose application for participation is rejected under the regulatory sandbox will be eligible to apply again with same or similar product only after the completion of mandatory cooling period of 6 months. So if on a particular basis the product has been rejected, so but the innovator thinks, or the participant thinks, that this is a good product and I have made a small tweak and now it will be better for whole of the economy, so then he can again like apply only after the cooling period of 6 months. The entity should demonstrate that the products or services are technologically ready for deployment in the broader market. Okay, so it should not happen that a new technology is being developed in the regulatory sandbox. Regulatory sandbox is for the further development of the present technologies, or for the new products or the services, or if a new technology has to be developed that should be ready for the deployment. Okay, so Reserve Bank shall not provide technology test bed. It's not like that you are going to the RBI just to test a technology that is actually not going to be benefit the financial sector. So the regulatory sandbox is for the innovations to come out. Okay, the kind of benefits that can come out for the customers. It is not a technology test bed and or data for testing of the product, services or technology. So Reserve Bank shall not provide technology test bed and or shall not provide the data for testing of the product, service or technology. The entity should have robust IT infrastructure and managerial resources. The IT systems used for the end-to-end sandbox processing shall provide end-to-end integrity of information processing. That means information should not be leaked as easy as that. Okay. Now, process and its stages. So this is the last part. The framework is very, very big. So you can go through the framework, but I tried to pick up the important points to provide to you. So this is the last step of the whole of the regulatory sandbox framework. So first of all, a detailed end-to-end sandbox process includes the testing of the products or innovations by the fintech entities shall be overseen. So who is going to oversee this? RBI, Reserve Bank of India, but which department of Reserve Bank of India? So it shall be overseen by Fintech Department of the Reserve Bank of India under overall guidance of the Interdepartmental Group on the Regulatory Sandbox of the Reserve Bank of India, with participation of representatives of various regulatory departments of the RBI and other domain experts. So the simple idea is that the end-to-end sandbox process shall be overseen by the Fintech Department of the Reserve Bank of India under the overall guidance of the Interdepartmental Group on the Regulatory Sandbox of the Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so this is the end-to-end sandbox process, the basic detail that the Fintech Department should oversee the end-to-end regulatory sandbox. So now let's start with the sandbox process. First stage, or the stages and timelines we are going to discuss. So there are 5 stages with which the timeline is also provided here. So there are 5 stages of the sandbox process. So these are the 5 stages. The first stage is preliminary screening. That means the fit and proper criteria. So the fit and proper criteria that we have discussed were only like 5, but there are actually 13 to 15 fit and proper criteria that has been given under the framework. That means the board members should be fit and proper. They should not be insolvent, or the IT infrastructure should be proper. There are the details that have been given regarding the IT infrastructure also. So these are the details that you can read. But from the examination point of view, these 5 points were very important. So I have selected these 5 points. Otherwise, if I bring all the points, it will be unending session. So you can read the other points, but these are the basic points that you have to go through. Okay, the other points are usually regarding the insolvency, or the infrastructure of the company, or the board members of the company and such. So preliminary screening will happen on the fit and proper criteria that this company should be taken into the regulatory sandbox or not. So the applications received by the fintech department shall be evaluated to shortlist the applicants meeting the eligibility criteria. Are they fit and proper or not? And the objective of the regulatory sandbox, as well as the application that they are providing is in line with this particular cohort or not, the theme of the cohort or not. So this phase may last ordinarily for 1 month from the submission of the complete application form by the applicant, and further information can also be asked by the fintech department. If there is some information that has been left out by the company or by the fintech company, the fintech department can ask for more information. Now you have to remember that this period of preliminary screening is outside the overall timeline of the 9 months. That means this 1 month that the fintech department is taking to shortlist the applicants, this 1 month is not calculated under the 9 months of the sandbox process. The application assessment and shortlisting. Now the fintech department shall vet and shall see the applications to evaluate that this application or this product or this service that has been told in the application, or that has been informed by the particular company, is it really bringing the innovation? What is the technology aspect? What are the security norms? Okay, the regulatory relaxations that this particular applicant is asking for. So all of these things will be seen for further shortlist the candidates. Okay, so the FTD shall vet the applications to evaluate the innovation, the technology aspects, the security, the regulatory relaxations, if any requested by the applicant, will be considered on the case-to-case basis. The shortlisted applicants will present their product, service or technology before the IDG, that is interdepartmental group, based on which they will be shortlisted for the testing phase. Okay, so what proposal they have to show that proposal. This stage may last for 1.5 months, and this is actually 1.5 months. That, and from this stage actually the process has started. Okay, the sandbox process or the timeline has started of the 9 months. So the clock has started and 1.5 months are finished. Then test design and integration phase. So here the test design will be presented. So the FTD, fintech department, shall finalize the test design through an iterative engagement with the applicants. So with the applicants, the fintech department will provide the help to finalize the test design and identify the outcome metrics for evaluating the evidence of benefits. What are the risks that can come from this particular technology, from this particular product or service. So the FTD with the applicant can go through the application or the product test design. So the fintech department will help the applicant and identify the outcome metrics, the benefits that will be brought out, as well as the risk that can come out. Okay, shortlisted entities shall integrate with their partners, if any, and be ready for the start of the testing phase. So here the test design and the integration phase, where they can integrate with their partners. Okay, 1.5 months goes into this. So 1.5 months have gone into this. So that means 1.5 months here, 1.5 months here. So 3 months are already gone. Then the testing phase will start, and that is for the maximum of 5 months. So 3 months before, 5 months in the testing phase, so that is 8 months, and then the last 1 month is for the evaluation phase. Okay, so this is the whole of the idea. You can read more about this, but this is the basic idea. So the entities entering the regulatory sandbox must, in an upfront, transparent way, notify the test customers of the potential risk and available compensation that will be given to them. Okay, and the consent is required from the customers if they want to get into the testing phase or not. Statutory and legal issues. So the sandbox entity must process all the data in its possession or under its control with regard to the regulatory sandbox testing in accordance with the provisions of Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. So the idea is that whatever the data is being collected and is being processed by the innovator, by the fintech company, that should be in accordance with the provision of the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. Upon successful experimentation, the testing phase has finished, the evaluation phase has finished. So on exiting the regulatory sandbox, the sandbox entity or the company must fully comply with the relevant regulatory requirements. That means that the relaxations that were given to the entity in the regulatory sandbox will not be applicable to them once they leave or once they exit the regulatory sandbox. Okay, so after the evaluation phase, they will have to, like, the 9 months will finish, the 9 months will finish. So this evaluation phase may last for 1 month and 5, 3 and 1 month. So that is 9 months will finish and the entity will have to exit the sandbox. So after exiting the sandbox, the relevant regulatory requirements will have to be followed by the entity. The relaxations that were present in the sandbox will not be present after exiting, as easy as that. RS, regulatory sandbox, is not intended and cannot be used as a means to circumvent the legal and regulatory requirements. It's not like that you want to enter the regulatory sandbox so that you have to follow the list of the requirements. You want to get the relaxation, so you want to enter the regulatory sandbox. No, regulatory sandbox objective, you have to remember, it is for the innovation purposes. Okay, so this is the idea. And the target applicants for entry to the regulatory sandbox are the fintech companies, including the startups, banks, financial institutions, and these are the entities that are the target applicants for entering the regulatory sandbox, and they should be the ones that should be actually entering the regulatory sandbox. So this is it for today. I hope you have understood the framework. Sorry if my voice was breaking in between. I hope you were able to understand everything. If there is any confusion, we also have the revision session. So in that, again, I will try to broadly discuss the framework with you, but these are the important points that I have provided to you in today's session. Okay. So the first question, I hope you will be easily able to answer this question. And this is the second homework question. Try to answer this question. So this is it for today. Thank you very much for joining the session. If you have any confusion, you can comment down below. Okay, you can also call us here. You can also mail us here. I hope you were able to understand the framework. Sorry if my voice was breaking in between, but I hope you have understood the basic idea. Okay. Any confusion, anyone? Should I close the session? Thank you for attending the session. And give the answers in the comment section. Okay, give the homework answer of the homework question in the comment section. So thank you very much, everyone.